everyone to the fifth round of the ZIRA Evolution Semi-Pro Championship. This time at Suzuka Circuit. I'm Marco Albertini, and for the third week in a row, I'll be commentating on my own. But before we begin, I just want to say that I like this track. Like, I know it doesn't matter much, but it is a pretty nice track to drive on. Um, and this is just the penultimate race of the Semi-Pro season. Um, while for the Pro Championship, you can see the calendar uh, on the screen that you can see right now. So for the Pro calendar, so for the Pro season, which will be um, broadcasted later, um, we have three more races, but right now, semi-pro, we have two races remaining, and we'll be doing the penultimate race today. Uh, but first of all, let's look at the previous round's results with Katsaros take another win ahead of Turokzi, Zidek, and Turok. Pichas got penalized 10 seconds and was dropped from second to fifth, ruining the GTGC 1-2. Marquez got a 10-second penalty, dropping him to 8th. And here's the track, Suzuka. 18 turns, 4 sectors, pretty long track, 5.8 kilometers long, and it's all gonna be sunny here. No rain, and the drivers don't have to change tires because the only tires they can use are hard tires. And here's the car, the Mazda 3 Group 4, a relatively new car to the world of Gran Turismo. The newest Group 4 actually. Which is one of the fastest cars in the category. It's front-wheel drive, and the drivers, from what we've seen this season, they always had to be careful with the front tires, and that's going to be a recurrent theme that we'll see on tracks like these, Suzuka. We've seen them in Barcelona, we've seen them in Spa, and now this is a pretty technical circuit, so I think that we'll see drivers struggle with the front tires around the middle part of the race, but it's all to see. So let's see the current driver standings with Katsaros first, and he just needs to gain a few points to clinch the title a race early over Zidek, who is currently second in the championship. But so only 23 points separate the two. Katsaros needs, I think, 25 to clinch the title, and if he wins the race, then the title is his. But far down we have Tashnadi, Pichas, and Ferreira, all with the same amount. Wait, there's a bit of an error. Uh, there is a bit of an error in the graphics, as Tashnadi, Pichas, Ferreira are all listed as 6th place. A bit of a funny error since they're not tied on points. But GTGC is also leading the teams championship with BGP in second place, HRT Renegade in third, with its sister team Velocity in sixth after scoring 4 points, with Tokesh and Lukash, while Pakelo is fifth, even though it's fourth according to the graphics. And GTHH is currently last, having scored 2 points with Chato Peter, who is P13 in the point standings. As we wait for qualifying, I'm gonna ask something to the live stream director. Baji, can you show me OBS? It's frozen. Okay, there we go. Yep. So there was a bit of a technical issue. The screen was frozen for me, but qualifying should start in just a few seconds. Yeah, I've just heard. Yep, qualifying is underway now. So 10 minutes for drivers to set a good lap time that can define not only their grid position but also the race. Because Suzuka, as we know, it's not a particularly easy track for overtaking. So the drivers are gonna have to be good in this qualifying session if they want to uh have a good position not only for the start but also for the rest of the race. Um, but let's talk about the track, shall we? Uh, Dunlop, the corner after the SS, it's a pretty long corner that will hurt the tires pretty badly. And does it with every single car. And after Dunlop, you come to two Degners, which are two fast corners. The first one is the fast, the second one is the middle corner. But they come so fast that you have to be really, really cautious when dealing with them because you can go off the track easily. But after the two Degners, you have the hairpin, which is a pretty good spot if you want to overtake someone. The entry is a kink to the right, and overall the corner is somewhat wide for two cars, and you can send it up the inside as a late move if you want. Um, it's also named the Kobayashi corner after Kamui Kobayashi. Did a lot of overtakes in the 2010 Japanese Grand Prix in on his way to score points. Um, but after the hairpin, you come to Spoon. But let's go with Tokesh, who deals with 130R, a corner that has been reprofiled in the past to make it safer, but it's always been pretty dangerous. Even with that, and has caused a lot of accidents. Sorry, a lot of accidents have taken place at this corner. Even now, we've seen them. We've seen accidents such as Sasahara's flip over the fence last year in Super Formula, and Tsuga Matsuda's crash in Super GT. But it's also um, a pretty corner. But you have to be really careful, especially on Gran Turismo where the Astro's still there. But we're on board with Tokesh, who's taking the S's. Very nice complex. Like the S's get slower and slower the more you do them. You enter the S's and it seems like they're fast course, but every single bend you take there, it's slower and it's longer. When it comes to Dunlop, the corner we talked about before, um, that on the entry is actually pretty hard to position given that you've overheated your tires and you have to be careful on exit because you can easily go to the gravel. With Deck 2 you can take a lot of curb and you can take a lot of curb on entry and on the exit. Um, and then you go up to the hairpin with the kink leading up to it, and you have to get a good X out of it because there's a pretty long flat out section after it which will lead into the spoon curves, uh, which are two turns turns that can be tricky if you cannot do them properly. Like the first one is a misspeed corner, but you can easily ball it on the exit. You can hit the aster, and that will not be good for your lap. And Deckner 2 is pretty tricky because you've got the front tires already working out for uh, you've got the front tires already heated up, and you have to turn them even more for his lower corner. But now you come up to 100 to the R. You have to brake a little bit for with these cars. And it can take a lot of the exit, and uh, here we go at the Castle Triangle. A chicane that you can take a lot of curb in, and you kind of need to take a lot of curb, otherwise your lap will not be um as good as you want it to be. But Tokesh crosses the line to take provisional pole to 11.4, but Jacares doesn't beat him. Judak takes provisional pole. What about Stratos, who's coming to the line now? Stratos doesn't take provisional pole. 210.5. So Judak on provisional pole with a 210.1. Um, but Piakos manages to beat his teammate on his banker lap. So Zidek really wants to send the Talify all the way to Interlagos and is not giving up just yet. But already 5 minutes into this qualifying session, time does fly by. When you're at Suzuka, um, so Piakos second, Turkci fifth, and Turk is fourth. Uh, so 5 cars all within a second of each other. Um, as you see, Turkci going pretty wide before the Dunlop, and he's going to go wide after the Dunlop. He's going to hit the grass 2 times. That's not gonna be good for his lap. Um, as he goes to first sector, a very tricky corner, especially with the curb that's pretty high. Second, uh, Degner is also tricky because you have the SR on the exit. You have the hairpin, and you have to brake straight to not mess up the line for it, and you have to get a good exit out of it. Otherwise, it's not gonna be a good lap. Given the flower section that you have here, um, as we come to the spoon curves once again, Vashkar sets his first lap time, but Turukti takes the spoon curves a bit tight. That's not gonna be good for his tires if he wants to do another quality lap. Um, I see a lot of cars coming in to complete their second laps. Um, but yeah. Oh yeah, they're changing tires. So 130R. This is a corner all about bravery. If you're brave, you can stick it. Then you're gonna get in a lot of tense, cause um, from what I've seen, people don't gain as much in the last sector if they're not confident enough in their car's abilities. And Stratos has got a penalty. So Stratos possibly has just one more qualifying lap and is already on the back foot with him taking penalty, and that could work well for Jidak, who is still currently on provisional pole, as no one improved their time in the top 5, with Jekares still P6. But no one seems to be improving, and Jidak seems like the only guy to have pitted for new tires. So, interesting game being played by some drivers regarding pin for tires. So, uh, 2 minutes to go now. Um, so that means one more lap for each driver when they cross the line, and it's gonna be interesting to see if anyone can steal the pole from Zidek. There's Slovakia, and someone's gone off. Turek has gone off at the second Degner. So a very common mistake that we've seen from drivers, with Turek going off and in a good way, letting everyone by before rejoining the track. Good sportsmanship from the Hungarian driver, who waits for everyone. But that's not gonna be good for him, because he's now gonna have to clean the tires up. And now I see drivers that are starting their final laps of qualifying, with Fiakos maybe improving, but he's not gonna improve as he hits the Astro, and that's not gonna be good for him. He has one more lap to improve on his time. As we go on board with Stratos, who starts his final lap after serving the penalty. So, can Stratos steal the pole from Zidek and show everyone that he is the guy to beat, or can Zidek um, drag on the tile fight to Interlagos? It's all to see now, with Stratos taking the S's in a very good manner. Going using the gears to his advantage, just so the car can turn more. Is taking a lot of curb on the inside, but he's currently not improving in the first sector, and that's not good for him, as he gets the X of Dunlop pretty bang on. As we go down to Degner 1, he does it pretty well. Degner 2 also looks well, extending the track as much as he can, but he's just improving on his lap, but He's improved only in that specific sector, but he's not improving on his lap. So, that's not gonna be good for him as he goes into the grass after the hairpin. So, Stratos really needs to get good last two sectors here if he wants to get the pole. But there's traffic ahead, not anymore, as he gets led by another driver. So Stratos on the spoon curve, while Vashkot improves and is not even in top 8. But Stratos coming up to 130R. Is he improving? No, he's not improving. He is 3/10 up on it, down on his time. Sorry, up on his time. Um, as he comes to chicane, the casted triangle, will he be able to extract something out of it? Doesn't look like it. It looks like a low corner as he comes across the line to not improve on his lap, and he stays third. So that will mean that Zidek may get pole. Well, we have to see what everyone does. Zidek hits the Astra, and that's not gonna be an improvement for his qualifying. Uh, uh, Taruxi goes up to third. Taruxi manages to split the GTGC cars, taking third place ahead of the German driver, who is finding himself in a difficult situation as Tarek comes out the last corner. Is he able to improve on his time and steal another position? Yeah, he is! So Stratos goes down to 5th. The championship leader is not having a good qualifying session. Wow. So, we got two more drivers crossing the line, I think. With Louis improving, going up to 7th. So Louis, gets a midfield qualifying position, but Zidek takes pole just like he did in Autopolis, but Stratos is not on pace from what it seems like. Only P5 for the championship leader, who hasn't qualified outside the top 3 in any of the races so far. So this could actually play in favor of Zidek, unless Stratos can get his pace back in the race. But wow, what a qualifying session, and we got 8 drivers in the second mark, with Jacaras just being outside of it by 2 milliseconds, with Ferreira in P10, Stirbo in P11, Toybixby in P12, Vashkar P13, Chatopeter P14, and Kshu in P15. So, what a qualifying session. And I'm sure we can't wait for the race to start in a few minutes. But, I wish I had a commentator here with me, because this is usually the segment where I do the predictions game. But since no one's here, I'm gonna do it myself. Um, I personally think that Zidek can actually win this race. I think this Slovak driver can bring on the top fight to Interlagos and can gain some valuable points on the Greek-German driver, unless um, something magical will happen in the race, and I don't know, but anything could happen. But my main prediction is that Zidek will win the race just like he did in Autopolis, where he won over Stratos in a chase that lasted the entire race, with Zidek managing his tires pretty well, um, in comparison to Stratos, who has made a name for himself as the guy to beat and one of the best guys on tire saving. But the race is about to start as everyone's on the grid. 15 drivers on the grid for the 5th and penultimate round of the season. We got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and it's lights out, and Zidek gets a decent start with Piakas following behind, with Lako overtaking Torok, and Louis gets up to 6th place as we head down to turn 1. So Piakas doesn't manage to get alongside the Slovak driver, while Stratos gets up to 4th position, overtaking Lako, and gaining some points that will become useful later in the race. But Locker doesn't seem like he wants to let that position go by, as there's a bit of contact between the two. Stratos seems to be struggling a little bit at in the race start. With Zidek maintaining the lead over Piakos and Turokti. I see Turokti went pretty wide at Dunlop, but he stays on the road, and clean start from everyone actually. With Stratos again pretty decent start, overtaking one guy and positioning himself in P4. Um, yeah. Oh, Piakos goes off. Piakos goes off at the hairpin, and that allows Stratos to get up into the podium in P3 at it. And let's see that again with Piakos. Oh, he gets bumped. Piakos gets bumped. So that changes things. Piakos gets bumped out of a podium finish, sorry, a podium position, and so that's not ideal. With Piakos now on the attack of Locker for P4, with Teruxi having to defend from Stratus. Let's see that again. Oh yeah, that's major contact. That is major contact, and I think that is Locker, if I'm not wrong. And it's Teruxi. Whoops. So Teruxi, I think under investigation now for that collision. Um, it's gonna be handled post-race, I think. But this has worked out in favor for Stratos, who may inherit P2 by the end of the race. With now with Louis, who started P7 is now up to P6. Right behind Tokesh and ahead of Ferreira, who is pretty well. Currently running P7 ahead of Turok. As we head up to the Dunlop curve. Um, but other than that, just a so far clean lap. Clean lap 1, 2. Oh, we have some action going up here with Louis on the attack of Tokesh for the top 5. With Tokesh defending for his life. As we go up to the hairpin on board with Turok, who is gonna be holding popcorn in his hand, trying to see where he can go with, trying to move around the outside Ferreira, and there's contact with I see Stirbo and Jakares taking advantage of the situation, with Stirbo going up to P9 and Jakares going up to P8, but he's on the attack of Ferreira going down to a spoon curve, and it looks like there's contact. There is contact, and Ferreira slides. We managed to keep it. There's contact. No, Ferreira and Stirbo go off at the spoon curve, with Stirbo, I think, closing in, not realizing that Ferreira was still there. So crash at the spoon curve. Let's see that again. From looking at Stirbo, the Romanian driver who has been part of some accidents, notably Bathurst, the previous race. As we see that Ferreira was sliding, and it gets bumped. So Ferreira gets bumped, and Stirbu think clear, but he gets bumped into the wall. That's a bit of an unsafe rejoin. That was an unsafe rejoin. You don't reverse like that on the track. That's a bit dangerous. But Stirbu loses yet another points position, dropping down to last. While we see Tokesh P5 with Lu P6, and Sato Peter actually goes up to 8th, currently in a pretty good points position, with Piakos currently being the fastest lap holder, currently running P4 with 211.0. So Voskor is has told in the chat that that they're are issues with the lag, from what it seems like. An issue that we've seen throughout the championship. Seems like Gran Turismo servers may not be up to the standards of some of what championships require. But there seems to be a battle going on. There's contact. There's contact at the hairpin. I couldn't quite see who that was, but there is contact. There was contact. There was a push to pass for position. Uh, and Ferreira is back up to PA. From what the timing screens show. Uh, I couldn't quite figure out who it was. So it was definitely Ferreira part of the contact. I think Ferreira was pushed, but he didn't lose any positions. So Ferreira keeps PA ahead of Chato Peter, and Kshu goes up to P10 after having started last, aka P15. Um, but pretty eventful first 3 laps we got at Suzuka. Uh, a lot of bumping, a lot of push to pass. Kind of happens when you got a track that start to overtaken, but it's not. It just happens, you know. You got turn cars, so a bit of RG is just some turn car racing. Uh, so Piakos sets another fastest lap. Currently P4, chasing down his own teammate, who is running 211.4. He's running 4 tenths slower than his own teammate, while Zidek is pulling away with the lead. Um, and Turuk is still holding the second place. Uh, as we head towards the hairpin with GTGC drivers in third and fourth positions now, with Stratos trying to gain ground on Toroxi to overtake him to minimize the points loss. Uh, but right now, Gidek is looking like to gain a valuable 10 points over Stratos. So Stratos at the current moment is leading just by 13 points as we head towards the Farhan Interlagos. Hmm. But yeah, Stratos on the attack for P2 on Turukti. He's probably gonna make himself known, but he's not gonna send it as we head down towards the chicane. Is Stratos gonna attempt a move? No, it doesn't seem like it, but Turukti kinda goes deep, and Gabin leaves the race. Interestingly. Uh, so as we start lap 5, Zidek has set a very good lap at 210.5, which is a pretty good lap from the Slovakian driver. But Stratos doesn't seems like he's struggling, trying to attack Turukci for second place. As we are in the first, as we're about to end the first 10 minutes of the race, we're going with Tokish, who is still holding off Louis. Well, I see that Peter is up to PA. So to HRT cars. Remember, HRT won the team's championship last season, along with the drivers' championship. Seems like they have been struggling to replicate that magic this season. But Tokesh and Louis are battling for position with Chato Peter, not an HRT driver, Chato Peter, and Pia, a GTHH driver, Chato Peter, with his teammate Kshu right behind him. And notice that Kshu is already up another position from the last time we saw him, with Locker dropping down to P10. Ferreira in P11 for some reason. Something must have happened to Ferreira. with Toby XP in P12 and Stirbu in P13. Toby XP seems to have his alerts on, while Ferreira is closing up to Locker from what I can see. Um, as we go back on more Stratos, who seems to be struggling a little bit, trying to catch Teruxi, while Piakos is gaining ground on him, and Stratos struggling to get a good exit, losing some valuable time over Teruxi, while Piakos is seeing some decent lap times. You know, see Tokesh uh, flew behind for fifth place. Uh, but so far, no battles going on. But I see a massive train of cars led by Chato Peter in the minimap. So yeah, there is a train of cars. Not close enough to be side by side just yet. Uh, but this has allowed Stirbu to close up uh, within 2 seconds to Toby XB, who is uh, there. And I see that Ferreira has overtaken Locker for the final points position. Uh, but oh, now I see Chato Peter. From what it seems like, Chato is not up to pace compared to most cars behind them. So this might be the reason why the train formed up in the first reason, in the first place, with the two GTH drivers taking advantage of the chaos happening right in front of them. And as we see, Locker on the attack of Ferreira, who had a pretty interesting exit out of deck there too, and there's contact! There's contact once again! Ferreira goes off! Second time Ferreira has been victim of contact, and Ferreira drops down to last as Locker gets P10 and Ferreira retires from the race. So let's see that once again with Locker extended it on the inside, but Locker should have tried to be more careful in that situation. But Ferreira out of the race, and that leaves I think 12 drivers in the contention. Yeah, 12 drivers remaining, with Locker going up to P10, but another incident that's going to be investigated after the race. The Stratos goes up to second with Turuxi falling down to fourth. So something must have happened to Turuxi as he lost 3.5 seconds to his personal best. So something happened to Turuxi. And this indirectly does help out Stratos as he gains as he minimizes his points loss more and more. As we see Chato Peter uh, still in the points positions, with his teammate Shu being attacked by Locker. Uh, Locker seemingly aggressive since the start of the race. And yeah, as we can see, that Locker is really close to Kishu as we are into the S section, as we're on board with Locker. Uh, Going up to Dunlop, just 2 tenths separate the two Mazdas. As we see, Sato Peter going wide, and that's gonna be contact between Locker and Kishu, but Kishu goes up to 8th, and Locker's gonna be really aggressive. Now there's contact, and then that's a push to pass, if I've ever seen one. And Locker gets himself up to P9, while Peter goes wide once again and drops down to P12. And as you see that once again, uh, so, ooh, yeah, unfortunate situation as Kishu tried to avoid Locker, but very interesting contact between Locker and uh uh Chato Peter, and that's probably gonna be investigated after the race, as I'm sure that Chato didn't like that very much. But Locker goes up to PA as Tarek and Louis are having a battle. Tarek and Louis are battling for P5, as I've seen from the minimap, with Louis Ooh, Louis very close. To Turok. For fifth position. With Tokash right behind him. Uh, as we head towards, as we begin lap 8. I think we're almost at the halfway mark of the race. Um, with Louis, seemingly strong in this part of the race. Just 6 tenths behind Tarak, who is trying to pull away as apologies, as we are heading towards as I said, the halfway mark of the race, and things are beginning to stabilize now with less and less drivers being in a battle and more or less like spreading out as we see the pace of each driver, but Turok is pretty wide at the first segment. That's gonna allow Louis to get closer. As we go up to the hairpin, and we switch to TV cameras, but so far it doesn't look like any close battles going on. As some drivers take to the grass on the exit of the hairpin, as we see Kshu with Stirbu. Oh, there's contact again. There's contact again. Stirbu makes contact with Kshu, and that can allow, I think, Toby XP to get past Stirbu, and is maybe gonna attack Kshu in the following corners. But Stirbu once again contact with another driver. Um, Toby XP, the MSRT driver, now on the attack for P9, while Shirbu loses yet another points position. Um, being too aggressive on the attack. Oh, and apologies. But Stratos has not caught up to Zidek somewhat. Only 1.1 seconds separate the two drivers. Uh, as we are in the halfway mark of the race, we are officially halfway through 18 minutes in, and TBXB seems like he's gonna pass Kishu, but Kishu is gonna stick his nose there, and is gonna send it, but oh, I think there was contact there, but TBXB couldn't avoid it. Oh, and there's contact. There is contact with a bit of oversteer coming from the Portuguese driver, with Stirbu going up again to P9. So Stirbu up to P9 as he takes advantage of uh, TBXB and Kshu's misfortune. So, what that was a pretty good overtake from the Romanian driver. Taking advantage of two cars, but it seems like it's not over yet, as TBXB is closing up to the Romanian driver, and Stirbu goes to defend. Pretty early defense for the Romanian driver, probably unnecessary defense. As we go back with Zidek, with Stratus 1 second behind, Piakos third place, Turok in fourth, Turok in fifth, Louis in sixth. So far no battles going on. What it seems like. Locker in PA, Stirbu, still defending P9. That's a pretty interesting defense. Bit too early to defend. When you know that the driver behind cannot attack you going down to 130R, as are on board of Toby XB, who is watching Stirbu take Suzuka in a way that he may find to be slower than what he can do. So Toby XB, really using those scripts to his advantage, but not on the exit as he struggles to get a good exit. And Silva goes up to the wall to try and defend the position which is a bit pointless, I must say. Um, but we got some interesting defending going on from Sherwood. It's fair defending, but I wouldn't think, but it may not be so useful, as the driver behind is not close enough to go for an attack, and that may or may not work against your tires. And speaking of tires, we haven't seen the tire of the drivers, so I wonder how uh bad are the tires struggling at this point with to be with Stratus's pace being a 211 now. It seems like tires are not that big of a problem at this point, with Stratus still keeping his rhythm up uh as we head towards lap 11. Um Zidek still maintaining the lead, uh still keeping Stratus at bay, but it may not last forever, as Stratus seems like he has the edge over Zidek on a long run, while Zidek has the edge on a short run, i.e. in qualifying or in the early stages of the race. But Stratus from P5 up to P2 and is looking like he's gonna challenge for the win. So lap 11 now. We got 7 laps to go. We got 7 laps to go, and uh, we are seeing a good chase. Just like, if anyone's an F1 fan here, Imola 2005. That was a good chase, and that may be the same thing here. We got the underdog versus the master here, and Zidek has already proven himself to be uh a good underdog, especially at topless. But oh, we got two driver spin. We got two driver spin. I think the two GTHH cars who doesn't have anything to lose, and yeah, they don't have anything to lose, so they might as well just go for the fastest lap or whatever. Uh, so yeah, they're going for the fastest lap from what it seems like. The brand new tires, and they're already out of the pits with Zidek. Um, now, 8 tenths ahead of Stratos as we head towards the spoon curves. Uh, as there's a bit of a bug in the there's a bit of an error in the graphics, as it lists lap 9 for Stratos as P intended as pit, but no driver in the top 10 has pitted so far in this race. With Zidek still holding on to first position, but Stratos is edging closer and closer to the Slovakian driver as we head towards lap 12 for 6 laps to go. Sorry. When across the line will be 6 laps to go, and the pressure is gonna mount even more to Zidek's shoulders as he is finding himself between a rock and a hard place, as he has to somehow hold off Stratos. I think that he did in a top list, but it's gonna be a bit hard here. It's gonna be a bit harder to do that here, as there are some straights that can uh facilitate overtaking. Uh, and let's see the replay of the start in the bottom right corner of the screen, where we saw a decent start from everyone, with Stratos going up to 4th place immediately at the start. Uh, and I would personally like to thank Tushka Balaj for the amazing graphics we got, and the amazing replays we have, and for organizing the championship as a whole. It all goes to him because he's a legend. Uh, he's a very good man, and yeah, see that in the bottom right corner we had a pretty clean start about 20 minutes ago. Um, and we didn't think that Stratos would have been fun for Elite, especially given his qualifying run. But it looks like that Stratos is in shot of the win. As we see the tires, uh, yeah, the tires are pretty bad. They're not bad as they were in Barcelona. But this is gonna be interesting. As Stratos has slightly better tires, so the trade of Stratos of preserving tires better than most people comes back, and that's gonna be useful for him as oh uh as we come to 5 laps to go with Gidek seemingly crumbling from the pressure that he's getting from the German Greek driver. Um, yeah, Gidek is struggling a lot. From what it seems like, struggling to get a good exit, and that's gonna allow Stratos to get closer and closer as we start the 13th lap with Stratos not close enough, and it breaks early to save some tires. So Gidek is now uh is now gonna have to hold off Stratos to uh, bring on a title fight to Interlagos. But if this doesn't happen, then if the positions switch, then Stratos wins the title over Zidek. Uh, currently, uh, still no. This the only battle of nerds going on. With everyone spreading out, even Piakos, the driver who started pretty well, has fallen back at least in terms of seconds compared to his own teammate, being I think 7 seconds back. And now Zidek is doing some small bit of defending that's allowing Stratos to get closer and closer as we head towards the spoon curves. And Zidek is gonna face a hard decision. Where does he want to go? Where does he want to defend? Stratos making himself known on the inside, but doesn't overtake. Uh, yeah. If yeah, as I said before, if Stratos wins, he is a champion. But if Zidek wins, then the championship will go on to Interlagos. But Stratos on the outside going on to 130R, he's gonna have to live through there, and Zidek maintains the position. But Stratos is not gonna give it up just yet. Uh, as we are about to start 14th lap, 5 laps to go. Yeah, 5 laps to go. Um, with Zidek momentarily building up the gap, 5 tenths between the two drivers. With Piakos 6 seconds back now, seemingly gaining a little bit. Uh, but mm, we have an amazing we have an amazing battle at our hands right now with 4 to go. Um, Stratos really putting Zidek under pressure, but Zidek is not seemingly is not crumbling under this amount of pressure. Um, as uh, uh, as he seems to be pulling away a little bit in some corner exits, but he's gonna have to do that for the rest of the race, and that's gonna be hard given how Stratos' tires are better than his. Uh, as we go up towards the hairpin, Zidek tries to park on the apex like he did in the last time around, but Stratos gets closer and closer. Only 2 tenths separate the two drivers as we head towards the spoon curve for the 14th time this race. But Stratos is not close enough. He is trying to put Zidek under pressure. He's trying to force him to make a mistake. But, oh, that's a bit of a mistake from Zidek, and that's going to allow Stratos to get closer. But is it going to be enough for Stratos to attack him going down to going up to 130R. He goes into his slipstream. He searches for a gap, but he's not gonna be able to. As it goes side by, oh, he almost goes side by side, going to 130R. But Stratos has to go on the outside of the chicane. But what a defense from Zidek. He's defending really well against one of the best drivers in this division. Uh, as we come to lap 15, 3 laps to go, with Zidek putting on a clinic with these amazing defenses. Um, but as we go up and down the field with Stilbo, currently P8 on the attack, sorry, on the defense from Locker and Toby XB. So Locker, the HRT driver, desperately trying to get some points back. But the two most aggressive drivers on the grid are currently battling for a good amount of points now. With as we go back to the lead, it's about for the lead actually. With Stratos currently closing in to Zidek, but it's currently not enough for him to get side by side again. But who knows? It's gonna happen like last few laps, is it? But Zidek gets a good exit this time and doesn't park on the apex like he did before. So Zidek manages to build up the gap a little bit. That's what he needed. But Stratos gained some valuable time as we go down. We go down after the the exit of Spoon. Stratos not close enough, not close as he was a few laps ago. But yeah. So Louis, P7, Silver PA on the defense from Locker and Toby XP again. So 2 laps ago, when they crossed the line, but tires seem to be a very interesting point. Stratos, 3/10 behind Zidek with 2 laps to go, and that's gonna be critical if he wants to pass it. Oh, he goes pretty aggressive into turn 1, because he knows he can use the tires more than Zidek can, and Zidek is now gonna have to be careful, because he's got a pretty aggressive CGTC driver right up behind him. So is Zidek able to hold him off for another lap? Will he be able to fend him off for 2 laps? As Stratos again still making himself known for a position. Apologies, I'm losing. I'm running out of words, but Stratos still making himself known. Still trying to force Zidek into a mistake, but that doesn't work. But Zidek still cannot pull away from him. As we head down towards the spoon curve, and that is a corner where Stratos has been really strong on the brakes, and he shows that once again by decreasing the gap a lot more than it was before. As we go down to 130R for the penultimate time, is Stratos able to get side by side with Zidek once again, or will he stay out of it? Stratos Stratos tries to go for it, but Zidek parks on the apex and does a very beautiful defense to maintain the lead going down to the final lap. So, final lap for Zidek and Stratos. White flag for both of them, and Zidek has one more lap to bring the win home, but it's gonna be a really hard fought win if he can keep it up. Stratus still aggressive on the brakes, and looks like he's uh still trying to find a way past, but it's not gonna work in this sector. It's all a bit of it's all S's, and they all flew into one each other. It's gonna be semi-impossible to do that, as Zizek beautifully parks it on the apexes. But oh, that's uh pretty good defending from Zizek, who blocks Stratus from getting a run, a downlap, as we head towards the two Degner curves for the final time. Will Zizek be able to uh, gain some ground? Yeah, he can, but Degner 2, is it going to be another story? Yeah, it will be another story. As Stratos gets closer and closer and going out towards the hairpin, Zizek leaves on the outside, but Stratos tries to line up a good exit. Well, Zizek has got an actual good exit. Stratos has got the outside line. That's going to turn to the inside line, and that's going to again be the outside line for the spoon curve. But Zizek is still putting on a very good defense as we head down towards the spoon curve for the final time. Zizek is not giving up on the position, but Stratos is going to the inside once again for second spoon curve, and there is some contact. There's some argy bargy with Zizek being pushed out wide. Stratos is first at the moment, but Zizek might have something against, might have something for him as we head down towards the chicane for the final time. So Stratos takes 130R, and he is 3 corners from clinching the title. Unless Zizek sends up the inside. Zizek, the Slovakian driver, sends up the inside, but it's not gonna be enough. And Stratos gets a good exit. With Zizek on the inside, it's gonna be a photo finish between the two, but it's not gonna be enough. And Stratos is the ZIRA Evolution Semi-Pro champion for Season 2 by 57 milliseconds, with Piakos coming in third, Turukci in fourth, ahead of Turuk. Tokesh 10 seconds back in P6, with Louis, who drove a pretty solid race in P7. Locker in P8, as we wait for everyone to cross the line. So Locker in P8, head of Toby XB. Shirbu loses two positions before the end, along with bit of tire struggles. But Stratos is the new Zero Evolution Semi-Pro champion by just 57 milliseconds. He was given a run for his money by Zizek, but what a season it has been for Stratos. What a season. He hasn't won only now Topolis, but every other race he has won it. 4 wins in 5 races for the CGTC driver, who clinches the title with 1 race to spare. From 5th, no less. So, wow. Has been a very good race. Has been a very good race, and I I thank everyone for anyone who was here to watch the stream. I thank every single one of y'all who stayed to watch it. Um, it was a very good race to comment. But yeah, I think I need some I need a new voice after that, because it was amazing from start to finish. But from me, Marco, it's been the end for today. But stay tuned as we have the Pro Division coming up in a few minutes. So stay around, and I'll see y'all later. Cheers.
And welcome. How are we all doing? Welcome to ZIRA Evolution Championship. It is season 2, round 5 of the Pro League, to one of the most historic tracks ever. We're going to Japan. We are going to Suzuka. Now, I'm very much hoping for a good race because we've seen some really strong performances so far this season, and we just hope that it continues to improve like it has been, just constantly getting better and better. And I think we've come to this track at almost a perfect time, just right when the drivers are really in the groove, they are really comfortable in these cars. We're going to hit them with a hard race. Well, let's look at last round. We went to Australia and Mount Panorama for a very good race. Marco in the end won with Virtuosis in P2. Fedorovsky came in P3 and Papel in P4. So overall, we can. It was a really strong race from all the drivers. It was really close battles through up and down the grid over the course of the race. Even if it was a little split out by the end of it, but overall a really fun race to watch. Now, look at that weather forecast. Wet towards the end. That is going to cause some absolute mayhem. But there is no mandatory requirements for tyres due to that rain. So whether people start on the softs, they think they can run the softs out until it gets wet, I don't know. That's going to be up for the drivers to decide. Now, here is the car, of course. It's a car that's caused some people problems, and it has caused some people masterclasses. The Lexus has proven to be a car to be very competitive and cause some absolutely brilliant racing that we've seen throughout all of the season. Hopefully, I know we saw right at the very beginning with a bit of wet weather that this car can get a little bit slippy. Who knows, we might be seeing it again. With the amount of rain that's due to come as well, we probably will be swapping onto the intermediates or even full wet tyres. So we should be able to see once again what drivers are more comfortable in the wet weather in comparison to those who tend to struggle a little bit more. But I think we should be in for a rather great race. But first, let's look at the standings. It's Albertini that sits at the top, but it's not by an awful lot, is it? 1 point. Sauda sits behind him on 50. Pahor 46. Chocnay only 40. So the top 4 split by 11 points. Super close up at the top. So I think we should hopefully be in for a very good race, and quite possibly a change lead driver in the championship. Now, likelihood is that qualifying should be getting underway very soon, so we will make our way over to that as and when it does start. But overall, what are my predictions for the race? I think it's going to be a general bit of chaos. I think it's going to be a bit closer maybe than what we've seen. So I think Suzuka can go one or two ways. You'll either have 1 or 2 drivers that are really comfortable at Suzuka and can really run away with it, or you'll have every single driver has a weak spot. Whether it's a corner, whether it's a sector, they'll have just one section of the track which they just struggle a little bit in comparison to the rest of it. I know I certainly do. The S's are an absolute nightmare for me, whereas the rest of the track I'm really comfortable with. So I lose time in the S's to other people, but then I gain it in the rest of the track. So maybe, and I think that probably will occur for quite a lot of these drivers, that they'll have one section where they'll lose time and then they gain it over the rest of the lap. So likelihood is what we'll see is we'll see lots of overtakes when people are at their weak points, and then they'll re-overtake when the other person gets to their weak points. So we'll see lots of changing of positions, or at least that's what I'm hoping to be the case anyway. If it's, so long as it's changes, so long as it's moving around positions, so long as it's fighting, I'm a happy man. Speaking of, qualifying is just getting underway now. Do excuse me, it'll be Pahor to come out. He'll be the first man to set a time, obviously unless he invalidates, but that's kind of besides the point. And, well, I mean, first of all, looking pretty strong for an outlap. I mean, he got a little wide there, but don't think he'll be taking it too much into account. Obviously, you just want to get these tyres warm. You want to make sure you're really beginning to understand how this track is working today, because it changes constantly. Suzuka's a really almost sketchy track in that kind of fashion, where one moment it can be really, really grippy, the next moment you're spinning. You don't really know what's going on. So for drivers to be in good understanding of what the track is like, how grippy it is, what corners seem to be causing the most issues, where to brake that little bit later, that's really key information they'll be getting out of this first lap. And then obviously they'll have the first flying lap as well. If it goes a little bit wrong, they know, okay, next time round we won't do that. It's not too difficult to adjust. You've just got to understand that you need to adjust. And for these drivers, I'd like to think that at the professional level, they are very much capable of doing that. So hopefully we should see, at least towards the second half of qualifying, some really strong laps. So Pahor has just gone and started his first flying lap, where I'll give you a little chat through the circuit. So turn one, it's this very interesting corner. It's a corner, but it's really focused on turn two, because that's what you're braking the entire time to get through, and that brings you into the S. Is one of probably Suzuka's most defining features, these constant left right that really unbalance your car, that if you make one mistake right at the very start of the S's, the rest of them are an absolute nightmare. You lose so much time for it unless you absolutely nail it. Either way, coming out of the S's now and through the double right-handers, and these can cause problems. Flying into the gravel trap is the main one. You don't even want to know so many times I've flown off into that gravel trap. It is just a nightmare. For, you know, ever so slightly overshoot the corner, but bang, you've lost 4 places. So it's really, really important that those guys keep on the track and don't overcook it. If you're going to do anything, slightly undercook it, and then at least you're still on the track, even if it is half a tenth slower. It's not the end of the world. At least you're not 3 seconds down. Either way, as I was saying that, he's gone through the chicane, back down the hill, and now ready to go back up it again and cross back over the track. Obviously, Suzuka is very interesting in the fact that it is a figure of 8. Not many racing circuits in the world are like that, so little fun fact for you. And obviously coming into the final chicane, really, really important that you don't push your chicane too much, because the game will penalise you for it. They are very harsh on it. But I think he's done pretty well there. So across the line, it's a 1:58.186 to start with. Pahor puts in a time. Saudaraudi can't quite beat it. He's 0.03 of a second slower. And at the moment, most people are putting in sort of 1:58.2s really. And Marco putting in a really strong time there, 1:57.886. He goes top of the tables with that time. Into the final corner here, let's see how he gets on. Round the final corner, he's keeping a very wide line rather than keeping it close, and by the looks of it, that's because he's setting up to do another lap. Obviously his first lap he wasn't happy with, or he clearly has made a mistake, being 20 seconds off the time. I'm confidently going to say there was a mistake in there, rather than that's his raw pace. So he's got a bit of time to gain. Basically, that's just a clean lap, and you're going to gain the vast majority of that back, at least 3/4 of it. Because Kaludis, P8 at the moment, he's currently, 3.5 seconds off the pace. So that would have probably been maybe just a lap that hasn't quite brought full potential. Either way, we'll focus on P9 for now, and it was a purple sector 1. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the sectors go. So obviously 2 seconds quicker through the second sector, so I wouldn't say that we've had the issue in the first or second sector. Must have come from here on out. I'm trying to think, where could you lose that much time? Unless you've just had a little mistake and then you've just slowed down, back down this back straight. That's a viable option. Pahor 158.1 there. Sadarani 157.6 puts himself up to the top of the tables with that time. So he's on provisional pole at the moment. Marco just improving his time, but not bringing it down completely. That was, what, 13-ish seconds off of his time, which would currently put him, he would still remain at the bottom, but not by an awful lot anymore, I don't think. See how he gets on across the line. It's a 157.8. P2. Wow, so there must have been a very big amount of time lost through the final sector as well, because he goes P2 there, splitting Sadaradi and Marco. Very, very well done. So 157.8, 157.6 is our fastest at the moment. I do believe Marco did go into the 157s. I think it's probably a 157.9 or a 158 dead. Either way, Mihirades is still going quicker. He is still improving on that time. He was a 10th up in Sector 1. That's provisional pole. All he's got to do is replicate his time now, and it's provisional pole. Any improvements, and that is just a very, very nice bonus. So yet still over a 10th up. He'd be, what, 400ths faster than Sadaradi if he now replicates these last two sectors. So obviously he had a bit of a nightmare in Sector 1, and he's been able to close it through very easily, very nicely as well. So he'll be aiming to keep up that kind of projection, because that would definitely put him in position to go on pole. Speaking of pole, Sadaradi is into the pit, so he is swapping his tyres for probably the only time I can imagine. Yeah, we're 8 minutes into qualifying as we speak, so I can't imagine it being any more stops other than that. Marco as well has improved his time, so he puts himself very close to Sadaradi, pretty much a 10th off, I'm fairly certain. Yeah, 0.099 seconds off he'll be. Either way, that's pole by one hell of a margin as well. Sadaradi goes E2 by a 10th and a half, over a 10th and a half. That's a really, really big gap at the moment up at the top, in comparison to really Marco and Sadaradi is just under a 10th, but literally a 1,000th under a 10th. So that is a fair bit closer. Bit of a gap to Pahor, 3/10, but then Chokne is very close to him as well, just over a 10th of a second between those two. Kaludis and Virtuosi, once again, 3/10 back between Chokne and Kaludis, but then less than 2/10 of a second between Kaludis and Virtuosis. It is then quite a bit of a drop back to Pence. He's 8/10 back, and I believe Massa another couple of tenths behind him still. So it's really interesting how we've got that repeating pattern between everybody. Look at that, Massa, not that far off of Pence at all. So very distinct qualifying capabilities. Got the top three, and then 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9. Is that going to be our output for the final event? I can almost guarantee you not. If you've ever watched one of these races, you know it could go to anybody. It really could. People make mistakes. People get bad strategies. So I wouldn't put it out of the way for literally anybody to win this. It's anybody's race. Don't think that no one is capable, because pretty much everybody is. Even if the qualifying pace is quite on par for everybody. So, not an awful lot longer of qualifying left. We've got 10 minutes of the session completed. Just watching Massa come across the line there, improves his time significantly, a 158.3, I believe that was. That puts him P6. So he'll be very happy with that time, I can imagine. Marco, as well, he's just on his out lap after pitting. He's got quite a way to go to get to the elusive pole position, which will probably be what he's aiming for. Obviously, he's sat at the top of the table at the moment, so I think for him, so long as he's above Saudade, that'll be all he's massively concerned about. Because at the end of the day, the importance is a point, pretty much. So I think with every circumstance, so long as Saudade is in front of Marco, he goes above. So it's close. It really is close. At this point of the season as well, this is where mistakes can't really happen, because that's what's going to get you kicked out of this championship really quickly. Um, one little mistake here and there, it's just going to ruin your chances of winning this championship. So he'll be focused on literally just trying to get himself in front of Sadaradi. If he gets pole, that's just a nice little bonus. But it's still an out lap at the moment, so this is basically his prep lap, just to make sure he is confident in the car, confident in what lines he wants to take. Pahor has just set a record time for himself, so he's just closed into Marco a little bit, but it's still a quarter of a second back, so nothing of too much concern for the Italian for now. Sadaradi has just started a time as well, and obviously, as I say, Marco will want to be getting himself in front of him. Sadaradi will be desperate to keep himself in front of Marco. It swings both ways, of course. First S's look pretty good. It's not quite as fast as he's done previously, so what, that's a half a tenth of a second slower through sector 1, but it is recoverable. It's not like it's an impossible amount of time to catch up from again. It's perfectly valid and perfectly possible to catch up. Case in hand, he's just gone purple. So still got a little way off. He's still got basically half the lap to go until, you know, he can take away that pole position, but it's something that's becoming more and more possible with pretty much every meter he travels. Into the double left, kicks in nicely, back out, back in. It's a bit of a later apex to maximise that exit speed and get the best top speed he can down this straight. Hugely important. This is a very, very long straight, so it's obviously it's really, really important to make sure that you do perfect it, and it isn't the sector that he was looking for. It's consistently slower, to the point where I don't think it would even beat Marco's time. But he is going to stay out to the very end of quali. So it was an improvement for Pahor by the looks of it. So he's just shot up with the end of that lap. Marco has just finished his lap as well. Chokne is about to finish another one of his laps, but significantly slower. So obviously a little mistake must have been made there. Massa will be the next driver through. See how he gets on. It's not a very good time at all, is it? It's a 2:10. Long way to go for any improvements there. But either way, we are now onto our final lap, so it will be Massa who will be the last driver through. I don't quite think that car got through in the end there. It was certainly close, but it wasn't quite enough. Well, we haven't got an awful lot longer left. Pahor is looking to try and take pole position. It's certainly possible 3/4 of a tenth of a second. That's all he's got to improve on. Obviously, Pole's going to have something to say about it, but it's a very slow sector 3. So I think that's probably his pole chances out of the window. Saudade will be looking to just try and gain time on Marco. Maybe Pahor as well. Obviously, he is still a very competitive driver and will be putting himself in places to try and take the championship. Saudade does improve, but it doesn't quite go pole. So he remains P2 for now. Marco across the line is going to improve, but not by enough to gain any positions. Chokne will be the next man through. How can he come across the line? It's going to be a 1:57.9. That's going to be in P5. Still a quarter of a second off of the back of Marco, so he's pretty secured in that position. And I think with a bit of gravel getting kicked up here by Massa, I can imagine it's not quite going to be the lap. No, it's 1:56 already, 1:57, 1:58. So it's going to be a 1:59 as he comes across the line. So significantly slower than what he has done before. And Kaludis there also just across the line. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is qualifying complete. So with that, Michelandes sits at the top with the 1:57.5. Saudade in P2, literally half a tenth of a second slower. Pahor P3, still within that 10th margin. So those top three, very, very close times in the end. Marco in P4, Chotney P5, Massa P6, Kaludis P7, Virtuosis P8, and then to the other half, Pence in P9. Right, join us back in just a moment as we get ready to go racing. Welcome back, everybody. So, everybody is out on their formation lap as of right now. So, running slowly, obviously, don't get concerned as to why the race is running and everybody is at pretty much a standstill. So, everybody is getting ready to have our rolling start take place. Just coming around the track for a quick sighter before they get themselves underway. Now, for the most part, I'm hoping that with the dry weather, it shouldn't be too much of a battering for some cars going through the first lap of 29 today. But as we've seen before, anything can happen. But we always pray for the best. We always pray that cars will be able to stay racing with one another, because that is what we all come here to watch at the end of the day. Now, Hernandez will start us off. Position that obviously is absolutely crucial. Obviously, we do get the green light, so it isn't quite as beneficial as, say, a restart where you choose sort of as and when to leave. But just having that position, he obviously will cut to the inside. He'll have the inside at turn 1, which makes it very difficult to defend against. Very difficult to attack from Saudoradi. So Saudoradi will probably remain P2 or lose places with, being out of place and possibly Pahor being able to send it down the inside. But either way, they're all just predictions at the end of the day. The cars come up the back straight for the slowest that they ever will. Everybody will just be getting themselves into the mindset and getting ready to go to the maximum. Through 130R for the first time today. And hopefully the first time of 30, unless something truly tragic does happen. But you can't pray on these things to happen. So Saudoradi will obviously be very interested in getting himself past straight away. But it is going to be a bit of a challenge with that double right-hander. You've really got to, make a move and really try and make it stick. You can't sort of just make half a move. It's got to be the full works. It's got to be the absolute best you can do. Hopefully, Saudoradi has brought it to his game today. So the cars begin to double file. And the green light waves, and it's already very, very busy straight off the bat. Saudoradi is going to be able to go round the outside of Hernandez. His teammate as well is going to go to the inside of him. So Saudoradi comfortably into the lead of the race, with Powell sweeping up the inside for P2. And I think Marco is going to have to try and do a lot of defending here. He was in P3 for a moment, but he's gone back down to P4 where he started. So Humir Hernandez out of that comes out P3. His teammate just in front, and Saudoradi in front of him as well. Really great position for Saudoradi. 2 cars in between himself and Marco, which puts him at a really good advantage to go top of the tables today in the driver standings. And we've had possibly a bit of an issue here with the 2 cars slightly further back than everybody else. It's not by an awful lot, only by about a second or 2 maybe. But possibly not just quite keeping up with the pace. Either they might have just had a slight touch, might have gone side by side through the S's, because that is probably about the right sort of time to lose if you do that. It's a very dangerous move to make, because obviously it's much less space to go around, and you lose a lot of time, which really opens you up to any cars behind. They might be able to join in on the action and get themselves past. Now Marco is looking really interested in getting past here. So's his teammate just behind, Massa. Chokne as well is closing in on that fight, so it's beginning to become a 3-way fight just in front, but Massa is still having to fight Kaludis by himself Unfortunately, he's not going to have the benefit of anybody else trying to fight him, or Kaluda's trying to go for any other moves. And I think just in front as well, it's going to be a big issue. Marco runs very, very wide there. We can see just up, and I think he's gone down the inside there. I don't know whether he's made it or not. We'll have to check back in a moment, because here's a quick replay of what happened. So he went to the outside to try and get a move down, and I think he just left the power in there for a little bit too long as he gets up onto the green. However, we saw him going for a dive bomb. Does he get it done? We get to see it in the replay. That's pretty secured, in my opinion. Is it done? Yes, it is. Marco is up in P3. And interestingly enough, just behind Massa, now trying to get himself still in works with Kaludis. That's still quite a feisty battle occurring just behind. And just look at this, Michelandez look to try and go round the outside of Marco down that main straight, but it didn't quite work out in the end. Marco managed to keep it to the inside, and a bit of a backlogging, and the car getting sideways there, but I think everybody managed to stay on track, even if possibly a bit of damage was picked up by one or two people. Hopefully it's nothing to be too highly concerned about. Now, Virtuosis improving on his time, sort of as you'd like to think, maybe just with a bit more calm running, he's allowing him to get the better run. But unfortunately, the two Greek drivers have found themselves at the back of the grid, so both of them struggling at the moment to try and keep pace, but hopefully they can pick it back up and get in on the fighting very shortly. Now let's look at Chognay, because he's right on the back, fighting for P4 at the moment. It's 4/10 at the moment, the gap, so it's not exactly a secured position as of right now. In fact, I don't think he's really going to go for it at 130R, but possibly into turn 1 if he gets a good chicane, which you never know. It's looking pretty strong. He gets himself in quite close. Just moving up to Pajor at the moment, and then just dropping down to Marco, and indeed to the cars behind. We'll see how they get on, but it's pretty calm running into turn 1 for now. Chognay getting very close to the back of Michelandez, but not quite able to get a move done as of yet. Hi, how are you? Oh, somebody into the pits, Virtuosis into the pit lane, getting a bit of fuel, but he is coming out pretty quickly on the racing softs. I'm guessing not really much point of getting any fuel, because you don't really need it. It's pretty much designed around the fact that you have enough fuel to finish a race quite calmly, or quite comfortably at the end of the day. So interesting to see the fuel canister come out. Whether it sort of came out and just did nothing, I'm not too sure. So that's a highly large possibility. There you go, words. So Massa running quite comfortably at the moment in P6. He's got a little way to go to Chognay just in front, but it's not a completely down and out move. It's certainly something he could begin to initiate, especially if Chognay and Michelandez begin to fight, because that would really open the door for him to go for that move. And more importantly, get close enough. Well, that was a bit of an increase. He's gone purple sector 3, nearly 4/10 of a second as we go into the chicane. Closing up with these two, he'll just be looking for the acceleration out of the corner to match. And it was fairly similar. It's about half a second as we speak. So he'll be working to try and close down this battle as quickly as he can. Just in front though, Chognay, and obviously he's fighting his Hungarian counterpart, Michelandez. And those two are doing quite a good job at pretty much keeping their distances equal. I think all three of them are doing it really well, actually. Matching each other's pace to perfection. literally, I cannot see a single mistake in any of these guys driving so far. They've been really smooth, really comfortable. Like they haven't. It's almost like they haven't been putting any effort in at all. It's rather strange if I'm honest, but it is quite impressive to watch nevertheless. So Saudi still comfortably sitting at the top. Papua in P2, Marco P3, Hernandez P4, Chokne P5, Massa P6, who we're on board with, Pence P7, Kaludas P8, and then the other groupman in P9, Vetronis, who's currently obviously a long way off the ball due to the fact that obviously he's come into the pit lane, so he's lost. Interesting enough, though, this is quite helpful information because he's lost, or he's 24 seconds back. So I'm going to say it's somewhere in the realm of about 20 seconds for a pit stop, which is, as I say, very helpful information because it can help us judge sort of as and when people are going to be able to pit and stay out in front, or whether they're going to lose positions, and importantly, how many positions they are going to lose. Because just coming out in, behind somebody, it can really screw over your race if you struggle to get past them anywhere in the realm of a fast pace. Now, still, these drivers managing to keep themselves so perfectly spaced. Great benefit is that we know that they're all very competitive with each other. They are all on pretty much identical pace. Downside is we have the slight and minor issue. They can't overtake each other because they all keep the exact same distance. It's not exactly what we call in business as optimal, especially from a commentator standpoint, because that means I can say, oh yeah, they're really close together, but they're not overtaking anybody, so it's quite boring at the moment, actually. But that's fine. It's fine. We survive. We move and thrive. But yeah, the race has quieted down very early on. Everybody's really settled into what positions they're in at the moment, and they don't look like they're too eager to catch up. People have split out based on their sort of ability very quickly, giving us quite a defined look who's strong Suzuka, who's particularly comfortable with their setup. Obviously, we've got the nice benefit of the fact that there's clouds in the sky, and there's a lot of clouds in the sky as well, which always leads to some interesting battles, to say the least, or certainly some interesting mistakes from some. So Chotney just in front is pretty much holding that half a second gap, exactly the same that Mass is holding to himself, though that has begun to decrease a little bit down that straight, but I think it then just extends again as soon as we get onto the S's. No, it's a bit closer this time round. Unsurprisingly, most people, I think pretty much everybody, is on the racing softs, so everybody's fairly comfortable in the fact that the racing softs are really the choice of tyre to go before it starts raining. Obviously, I know it was pretty much a half and half split, so I'm going to say somewhere in the realm of about lap 15, lap 16, we're going to see some rain. Between lap 14 and 16, I think. So, and essentially what we've done so far, again, we'll roughly be getting rain begin to occur. That's kind of the plan anyway. And still this fight continues. Though I would like to say it's certainly getting closer. I'm going to say anyway, I think that's getting closer. It hasn't been 3 tenths for very long at all. It's been, for the most part, 5 or 6. And now it's 3-2 tenths of a second between these drivers. I feel a battle imminent, going to occur any moment now. All we got to do is just wait for it to fall onto our plates. Massa's definitely looking like the more dangerous, the most dangerous of the three. The most eager to get past as well, I'm going to say. But he's going to have to put in a lot of work because he's gotten very close to the back of Chocno there, practically touching him on the way through in that corner. Going to have to be one hell of a move because obviously Chocno's got the advantage of also having slipstream from Michelades. So it's going to be an interesting end, if I'm going to be totally honest, as to how Massa's planning on making a move, because I think for Chocno it's a lot easier to make a move because the car in front isn't too dangerous in comparison, whereas if you're right at the back, you've got two cars that are very similarly paced. You've got to try and overtake one whilst not losing too much time to the other, so that you get the position and then you can set yourself up to get the next position. Whereas something like this from Marco and Pahor, right at the back of Pahor at the moment, clearly showing signs of stronger pace in comparison. All he needs to do is slot past. Even if it does take a second or two off of his time, it'll make him in a much, much better position than he would be in any other situation. Oh, that got a little Larry. I don't know whether a little contact was made there or not, but certainly got very close between those two drivers. Pahor just defending nicely there through the chicane. And we'll be looking to try and hold on to it, but I don't know as to how long he can hold on to this for. I think he's got it down this straight. Yeah, I think everybody's got it down this straight. And oh, Marco getting very close. Very interested in getting past indeed. I mean, Marco really pushing that car, and you can hear the tyre squeals coming from all four of those locks of rubber, binding him to the surface, though certainly giving away with the amount of noise that they are indeed giving off. Saudaradi, he's really in a good position at the moment, isn't he? 4.8 seconds from Marco, a man who's gone for the overtake at the chicane of all places. Gets it done. Possible switchback on for Pahor at the moment, but he's going to have to try and accelerate as quickly as he can to try and get out of that situation, but it's not going to be for Pahor. Marco secures that P2 for now, but it's not done and dusted just yet. Pahor still very close, and importantly, Michelades also beginning to get in on this fight. It was a lovely, lovely move down the inside, wasn't it? And you can see that, Pahor was trying that switchback, but he couldn't quite get on the power early enough to make it work. And now all of a sudden, he's got teammate issues. The absolute nightmare fuel. Teamwork, is great and all. We love teamwork. But the amount of divide it causes is just astronomical. I mean, Michelades and Pahor, I don't know whether they're communicating or not. They might be, they might not be. But whenever I am with a teammate, I do try and communicate with them, because if we get into a situation where, okay, we are roughly the same pace, there's a good chance we're going to meet each other in this race. How do we strategize for it? You know, we want to make sure that we get the most out of the race, whilst also, you know, keeping it solid, if that makes sense. Chokne under a lot of pressure at the moment from Massa. And I am just curious as to when he's going to be able to get past. It's not just yet by the looks of it. Still got a little way to go, but the pressure is certainly beginning to mount. And the move has been dived, but I think it's going to be a good enough switchback from Michelandez to get the position back. It's going to be a drag race to the next corner by the looks of it. Is Chokne going to be able to get it? He's going to have to take the outside line here, and by the looks of it, yeah, definitely gives away that position. He knows that he wasn't going to be able to fight for it, and that Michelandez would retake it. So no shame in that. You know, you've just got to know where your limits are, and you've got to know what's best for both yourself and the car. That's obviously absolutely vital at the end of the day. Really, really important to make sure that you're in a position to go for a move, or whether it's just screw it. And I think that might have been a little bit of an screw it moment, but it nearly works. It certainly actually it did nearly work. Chokne back down to P5, but it's not like it's an awful position. He's right slap bang in the middle of the fighting, especially when he was swapping paces with Michelandez, right in the middle. And interestingly enough, Massa, half a second penalty. As we're talking about him trying to catch up, he gives him one of the biggest setbacks physically possible, a penalty. And in particular, a Gran Turismo time penalty. If you don't know how bad a Gran Turismo time penalty is, I feel bad. They're not fun. Because it might be a half a second penalty. You're easily losing 2 seconds. Sometimes even 3. Especially when you go to like the Le Mans circuit. It's just nightmare fuel. So Massa's going to have to serve this penalty. He is also beginning to trail this pack a little bit, so it's not the end of the world for him. Obviously it means he's going to get completely split from the pack, but at least it's not losing lots of positions that you had gained. So it's a bit of a catch-22. It's a mixed bag. It's an okay penalty, but it is also a catastrophic penalty, all at the very same time. Isn't that absolutely marvelous? So we go for another lap, a third of the way through this Grand Prix. We are in fact over a third, so get yourself strapped in for 2 more of what came, as currently, as we speak, our leader, Sauder Ali, who also holds pole position, leads our race. Marco P2, Pahor P3, Michelandez P4, but I can't see that being the case for particularly long, because Chokne is going to go for the move. Once again, he's going to try and split those 2 cars up, and indeed gets it done this time round. So Chokne into P4, and Michelandez down to P5. Absolutely lovely move there, just on repeat, again and again and again. So Chokne has got a little bit of a gap now to the next closest car, Mr. Pahor. It says 3/10. I'm going to say more like 3 seconds. They seem quite far away from each other. Chokne, though, he's not very far away from Mahajir at all. That will be very interested in getting past soon, I wholeheartedly imagine. Interestingly enough, those racing softs really beginning to struggle now. Nearly completely red for Pahor. As is that a blowout? I think that's a blowout, you know. Gets up on the curve, spins round. Just tries to regain it. He's going again. So it's not quite. I think he must have just been really going out of the throttle to try and get that much wheel spin. But by the looks of it, he's staying out for another lap. So interesting enough there, Mahida's had a good opportunity to try and get past, and now with a little bit of contact, but elected not to go for it earlier. Possibly, I'm guessing, due to the sort of the nature of this competitive racing, but just watching a replay of that, tries to sneak it to the outside, doesn't quite work, to the inside, back to the outside, and it is complete from there. Oh, that is marvellous. That was totally, utterly marvellous. Michelandes, a fantastic move there. 2 cars in front. So this is on board with Chocnay. He then cuts to the inside. Slight bit of contact. And that completely opens the door for Michelandes to come through and get that position. So that's 2 cars now up in what, P6 and sorry, no, 4 and 3. So currently a podium position for these guys would be a really, really good result. They'd be more than happy with that to take home a cheeky podium place, especially considering our gap to second place is what, 6.7 at the moment, and our gap to leaders is 7.554. Certainly close. A little bit of bump drafting happening through sort of the back sections of this track. As the fight continues to take place. And now can Michelandes try and go for a move on his own teammate? It's certainly looking plausible. He's gotten himself into a definitely do put him like on the radar for generally being quite dangerous. Now Massa running in P8 at the moment, doing a fairly good job as well, but has got to try and close down sort of as we get along. Pahor in P4, possibly looking to move up to, oh no, sorry, having to defend from Chocnay at the moment. Chocnay doing quite a good job to hold back for now, but we'll be looking to try and get past pretty soon. There we go, Chocnay back past once again. This fight continues to rage on. Pahor can't quite get back past down into turn 1. We'll probably wait until, I imagine, the run up the back straight. I mean, you can possibly go for a move into the hairpin, but would have to close down by a considerable amount. He's what, 7 tenths, 8 tenths now off the pace. So it's looking a bit unlikely as we speak to try and go for that move. As Marco has rapidly closed up to the back of Saudaradi. That gap was what, 4-5 seconds a while ago? Now 4 tenths of a second. So possible leader change very, very soon, as it's looking a lot more comfortable out on track. Is Marco in comparison to Saudaradi? He just seems a little bit wobbly. Not happy with his tyres, I can imagine, is probably the case. And I think Marco is going to try and go for it at 130R. Can he pull this off? They're going to go side by side. Marco on the outside, and I think it is going to be a pretty good defensive move there by Saudaradi. He keeps himself in P1 for now. But something I have noticed, the windscreen wipers are going. Ladies and gentlemen, it is raining. And that is just something we love to see. So both of them diving into the pit lane almost immediately. So's Michelandes. I think everybody's going to be coming into the pit lane, all for exactly the same objective. Oh, half a second penalty for Saudaradi. That will be huge in the way of deciding how this pit exit goes. I'm guessing Marco will probably be in the lead by the end of this lap. So there we go, Marco out onto track straight away, and interestingly enough, onto the full wets immediately. So opting to skip the intermediates, go straight to the full wet. So they are forecasting very, very heavy rain. So this will be interesting to see how this turns out, as the spray is already getting quite substantial. So Marco comes out in the lead of the race. Michelandes P2. Saudaradi in the end there came out P3. They had an absolutely horrible pit stop. Lost him a load of time. About a couple of seconds, you know. Pahor in P4 and Chotney P5. So they're looking pretty comfortable at the moment. And most people will just probably not go for many moves. I can't imagine too many people making any rash decisions, because they'll be learning to adapt to this wet weather and try and understand, you know, where is it that we want to be braking, where do we want to be turning, how much speed do we want to be going into the corners with, what angle, what aggression, how is my line going to change through the corners. That is all going to be happening over sort of the next 2 laps or so. So everybody's going to be sort of just getting into the groove a little bit. Before then, I can imagine that most people will start putting pressure on others and starting to go for moves. Marco looking really comfortable at the moment. 4.7 seconds is the gap between him and P2. And then I think Saudaradi is about another second or so, maybe half a second. Oh no, probably about 1.5 really. But Marco is flying, absolutely flying. It's 5 seconds now. It said 4.5 like a corner ago. It's now 5. So Marco really showing he's got a lot of pace through this wet weather conditions, which we are due to finish on. So this is essentially what is planned for the rest of this race. Cockney at the moment currently got 7 tenths to the back of Powell, but that's not going to make an awful lot of difference. Powell's gone off at the very first corner, and that allows Chotney to go through very easily without really any difficulty or challenge. So I'm guessing too late on the brakes. Let's have a little look and see what happens. So came into the corner, First turn done well. Car gets stuck in understeer, and that just coasts him off of the track, and he rejoins behind the man who is fighting to take his place. A perfect capitalising on a mistake kind of move. So Pahor in P5 at the moment, going to have to do some recovery driving, but looking to be struggling, especially at the moment with grip. Definitely struggling to try and keep it, all in one piece, all in one place at the very same time. Sort of wiggling a little bit out on track. We saw his back end has been kicking out a couple of times as well, which will just be causing him even more havoc. Saldradi here, he's very open at the moment. He is just completely uncontested as of right now. 4 seconds in front, 2.2 behind. It's in that region where it's just, yeah, there's not a whole lot of fighting to see here. He's just very casually going about the track at the moment and just making sure that he stays comfortable. That's pretty much the important bit for him. Paludis at the moment as well. He's P7. He's got 9 tenths to the car in front, tenths. So that certainly has come down a little bit over this sort of beginning wet weather period. Whether he can get it to close more than that though, that's another ask, because as you close in, it gets harder and harder to gain those tenths of a second. It's certainly going to be a bit of a challenge for him, but we all know the Greeks, they can be up to pretty much anything. It's going to be a long way to go until he gets the opportunity to go for a move on Pence, if at all ever, because it is a slight improvement from Pence down that straight, and you look at that, the use of traction control, almost mandatory for, I think, for a lot of these drivers, just to make sure that car isn't constantly kicking out, because it will in just any moment. Any opportunity you give it, bang, it's gone. Completely loses grip almost immediately. And little mistake there from Pence, as I think he sort of came across the track a little bit too early there. That does mean Kaludis has gained about 0.3 of a second, but nowhere near enough to put any kind of pressure on the back of Pence. It's going to have to be another couple of laps, I'm saying, at the absolute minimum, before any kind of battle happens there, unless of course Pence makes an absolutely fatal mistake. Looking slightly further up the field now, Chokne was about 7 tenths off of Saldaradi. So that's a battle we could definitely see improve in contention at some point, as Saldaradi there, as we just jumped to him, looked to be wiggling about a little bit. Was struggling a little bit there at the very start, but managed to get the car back under control, but at the expense of 0.3 of a second gained by Chokne. So all of a sudden Chokne is in a position where he can possibly start looking for a move, putting a bit of pressure on the back of Sauda and getting it done. Obviously, of course, they are teammates, so I wonder how that will play, whether Chokne is allowed to get through, or whether Saldaradi says, actually, no, it was a small mistake, but I still think I'm the faster driver, so I'm going to try and progress. I'm not too sure, so it's going to be interesting. Once again, as many things have been so far, waiting to sort of see how they pan out. I guess that's the thing. Obviously it's an hour-long race, so a lot of things can happen, and there's a lot of time for things to happen as well. So it's important to make sure that we just keep on alert, keep noted of things that have sort of been happening, and sort of things that could possibly happen because of what's happened so far, and obviously just sort of look between different battles and see sort of how things are progressing, whether anything's on schedule or whether something is looking less and less likely. But I think, in my opinion, Chocnay getting past is increasing in chance with every waking moment. He's just getting closer and closer. For the most part, extended a little bit out there, but in my opinion, Saudi Rowdy is under threat at the moment, and I think he knows it as well, because he'll be really pushing to try and make sure that he's out of that danger zone as soon as he can. But of course, it's a challenging thing to do. Saudi, he's pretty comfortable on his pace at the moment. 2:26 is the last lap. Oh, a little bit wobbly there from Powell as he just tries to keep it in one direction. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. It's not a massive amount of time lost. Certainly time that he can indeed gain back with a couple of good corners, but just worrying scenes there from Pahor as he just scrambles to get himself back into a bit more normality, a bit more comfort. But luckily he has done so pretty quickly. Now Chocnay really closing in on the back of Saudi Arabia. I think this is probably the closest I've seen these two for a good couple of laps now. I think this is probably the closest at any point. In fact, a slight change in direction there from Chocnay as he's managed to secure the place. That happened all in the deep in the spray. So that move, as he launched down the inside at the chicane, the spray was blocking our vision, but he has indeed managed to get through there with a very nice dive bomb. Just seeing an off-board camera made that a whole lot easier to see. So there we go. Chocnay with the risky move down the inside has managed to secure the position. Saudi pushed to P4 now, but not interested in staying there for particularly long, because by the looks of it, Chocnay having to go defensive through that corner, as Saudi incredibly close to the back. Is he going to be able to go for a move at any point here? I think so. Chocnay defending absolutely wonderfully, just keeping him behind, as Saudi I think just gets a little bit loose out of that corner, but so does Pahor. And I think that is going to allow Chocnay to just escape his teammate, who's breathing down his neck for a large quantity of those S's, really putting the pressure on, and nearly went for a move at a point. But look at this now, Pence under a lot of pressure from Kaludis, who's absolutely flying in comparison. Pence must have had a serious mistake or two there to have lost quite the amount of time that he was losing. So I imagine Kaludis will be most happy. Yeah, 15 seconds lost. 15 seconds. Where on earth has 15 seconds come from? Oh, no, of course it's not. It's 15 seconds to the fastest time. Obviously, because we're about 30 seconds slower in the wet. I was very confused there. But no, we haven't been in wet weather for... Oh, I've been a right tart there, haven't I? Yeah, that wasn't the smartest I've ever been. Yeah, no, he hasn't lost 15 seconds. No, that's just correct. Speaking of, obviously, lap times have shot up. They were about 1:59, 1:58, 2 minutes. For the most part, they're now 2 minutes 30, or nearing on 2 minutes 30. 2:29s for the most part. Oh, look at this. Pahor. Sorry, no, Pence and Kaludis going side by side. Kaludis is going to have to go over the inside of 130R, and he is just going to be able to pull it off. Somehow, neither car goes spinning off into the abyss as Kaludis gets himself past very nicely there. A quick little replay shows he goes up the inside very nicely, just gets on the brakes that little bit later, gets a huge splash of water at one point there. I'm surprised that didn't aquaplane him and send him flying into the abyss, but he's managed to keep it stable and he's managed to get the move done. There we go. And now it goes back to being moderately silent once again. Pahor really close, still to the back of Saudoradi. He's sort of been lingering a little bit. I'm interested as to when he's actually going to make the move, because he's been there for a long time, sort of just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I'm curious as to see sort of, when's he gonna try and go for the move, because he's getting closer and closer every waking second, and I think the opportunity might present itself, possibly even at this chicane. I think he's probably gonna go for it, and having to go defensive, Saudoradi, that will allow Pavel to try and get switched back if possible. A slight twitch by the car in front is going to possibly open the door for Pavel to maybe go up the inside here. I'm not too sure. That'd be a pretty brave move. Interesting enough as well, Pavel, no traction control. None necessary for him. He's brave enough to go out there with no traction control in a GT3 car. I wish him the very best of luck, but he's controlling it very well. In fact, he's been keeping himself firmly planted to the ground as we speak. And I think he is going to be safe for a little while longer. But I don't think it's going to be a whole lot longer. I think he might... Oh, backs off there. Wise move. I wouldn't have gone for that move either. That was very risky. Pavel making the right decision there as to not go for the dive bomb at 130R. I know we've seen it be pulled off with Kaludis just behind. Don't think that's like the standard. That was lucky. That was a good move. Really high caliber. And so we continue. And little mistake there from Saudoradi that just about stays in front of Pavel, but leading to a lot of mistakes from Saudoradi at the moment. Just lots of little mishaps that are just causing him issues. Nothing like on the major side, but for the most part, it's like it's a little concerning, but it's not like dangerous, if that makes sense. It's certainly losing the position. That certainly is. Oh no, Saudoradi completely loses the rear end and goes flying into a wall. Oh, that is an absolute tragedy. Just as we thought he was beginning to get the car back under control after the mishap at turn 1. Just a bit too much power coming out of the S's, and that sends him face first into the wall. He is going to recover and stay in P5, but very, very unfortunate indeed. So we'll watch that as he just gets a little wiggle out. And yeah, that's just after recovering. But yeah, Saudoradi will be in fairly significant trouble here, because he's got that front left wheel and the front end damaged. So that's going to certainly lose him time. It's probably going to be exacerbated because he's in those wet weather conditions. But at the moment, he's managing it pretty well as to not get himself into too much trouble. Obviously, he's got Kaludis 5 seconds back. So it's not miles behind, but it's certainly not impossible as well, if that makes any sense. So doing a decent job at the moment just to keep himself running. And I think he's staying out. Yes, he is elected to stay out. So obviously he has the damage, but thinks that he can manage it till the end of the race, which is always nice to see. And Marco looking fairly comfortable at the moment. 7 seconds out in the lead of this race. Michelandes as well, very lonely. Obviously just over 7.5 to Marco, and 5 seconds back to Chopney in P3. So really, really open at the front end of the grid. And then Chopney as well, he's got 5 seconds back to Power after that incident. So the top three, once again, similar to last week, fairly secure in their positions. They're not looking like they're too much under threat. It certainly could be a good thing. Certainly for them, they'll be absolutely over the moon. Obviously, Marco especially. The issue is obviously for Michelandes and Chopney, they're completely unable to get any more points than what they've got. But a podium's a podium. It's a overall solid result that they'll be, I think, for the most part, happy with. We're currently on lap 23 of 30, so we've got 8 laps remaining. Oh well, 7.5 for, I think, for the majority of these drivers now, as most of them are making their way through the ends of the lap. So that will leave us with just 7 laps to go. And well, it certainly is quiet out on track at the moment, isn't it? Interestingly enough though, take a little look at Marco's fuel level. He's not going to make it. He isn't making it. I don't think, on that much fuel, another 7 laps, no chance. He's going to have to pit for fuel. There isn't enough fuel to finish this race, and I know why. These races are designed to be an hour long, but because of how the weather's been set up, if it was 2-minute laps, 30 laps, hour, perfect, bang on the money. Ooh, bit of a rocky run for Michelandes there. But importantly, because we've been on wet weather running for now, what, nearly 10 laps? That's 10 laps with an extra 30 seconds every lap. It's an extra 5 minutes added on. In fact, at the moment, I think we've still got another 15 minutes of racing to go. And we're supposed, if it was an hour race, we would have finished in about 30 seconds. So all of those laps, now, all of a sudden, you've got to have time. That time, that extra running, is going to cause fuel issues, which is what all the drivers are now receiving. All the drivers had set up and prepared for an hour's racing, and what they've got is an hour and 20, or an hour and 15, roughly, give or take. So all of a sudden, that extra 15 minutes of racing, they haven't got fuel for that. They haven't got fuel for another quarter of what they've done so far. They're going to have to pit. Now, that really does make this interesting. I think everybody pretty much is going to have to pit. I don't think anybody's got the fuel to finish this race. As most people are getting close to that red margin. Currently watching Pence at the moment. But I think a lot of these drivers, if they are concerned about fuel, they will wait right until the last very second. The last second they can possibly get away with it. Here's a quick replay of Michelandes. As he comes off the track. Once again, just braking that bit too late into turn 1, sends you flying on the understeer, and regains after losing probably a couple of seconds. It's manageable. This is pretty close here. 0.4 of a second between Kalidis and Saldarandi. All of a sudden, that 5-second gap is pretty much nothing now. Sadaradi is going to have to defend like crazy if he wants to keep Kaludis off. I don't know whether if Sadaradi maybe came off the track a little bit, I'm not too sure. But he's certainly looking in a much more concerned manner. And look at this Virtuosis as well, right on the back of Pence. Those two battling out as well. So the back once again providing all of the action that we need for the day. And Virtuosis doing a pretty good job. Massa in the pits at the moment. So he decided to come in, interestingly enough. I'm guessing new set of tyres, a bit more fuel, just to finish the race. Puts him 1 minute and 10 seconds down on the drivers in front. Chokne as well beginning to really run low on fuel. Also catching Michelandes pretty well as well. So maybe that's a battle to take place over the next couple of laps. It's got to be really close on this field. I don't know whether they're going to make it. It would make sense if the fuel was set up for an hour's running, and well, an hour would be pretty much at the end of this lap, and then we've got lap 27 and 28 and 29 and lap 30. So it's definitely worrying for some of these drivers, I can imagine. Must be. Zaldaradi looks in a slightly more comfortable position, but his fuel hasn't started lighting up red yet. Marco's has been lit up red for sort of a good 2-3 laps now. Ooh, just getting a little wobbly out of that corner. Chokne does manage to keep it all together pretty comfortably though, actually. Doing a really good job at just balancing that car's ability to float over the water and to keep the grip strong. Very good corrective steering as well, and a bit of dose of power just to keep himself looking in the right direction. Defensive goes Michael Andres. He's going to go all the way around the outside. Is he going to be able to get the power to get in front? Not quite, but he is still going to keep himself in there. Doesn't quite keep his wheel in. But Chokne with a very brave move and a huge slide there from Michael Andres. That allows Chokne to swap to the inside line. Can he get the move done? Yes, he can. And just about getting through. Does so very, very well. And doesn't look to be in too much trouble leaving the corner. Maybe down this straight, however, it could be considered a tad bit more dangerous. 0.4 of a second split these two drivers, but nobody elects to go for a move as of just yet. Chokne doing a good job at defending for now, but I think he's going to go around the outside. Is he? No, he's going to stay behind and cut to the in. I don't think he's quite got the pace in the drag race to try and get himself in. He's going to go for the dive anyway. Soars through, and with an absolutely immaculate dive bomb, Michelandes gets himself through and back up into P2 again. So we got a right battle on our hands here now, Chokne. Let's watch a very, very quick replay of that. So goes to the inside. He's only got his front wheels in line with the back as he goes in for the heavy dive. Absolutely nails it with the amount of braking and corner, and just slots himself through as if it never happened. So back up into P2. His teammate catching currently P4. So could we see a big win here from ROH as they do indeed climb the order a little wobble there from Shockney. Gonna just have to be as cautious as he possibly can. Doesn't look to go for a move, but it's going to be massively defensive. That's going to allow Pahor to start getting in on this fight. Doesn't quite get the power down quickly enough to keep himself up and within the running, but all of a sudden he is within fighting distance almost immediately. Chotney as well is interested in getting past, and I think he might try and go for a move here. Doesn't elect for it. Slightly more defensive from Mihalandrez as well. That pushes Chotney to the outside, which pushes Pahor to possibly go for the move, but no, Chotney is going to try and go for the move here down the inside and onto the back straight. It's not quite going to pull off immediately, but could certainly look to try and get this move done into 130. Oh, that would be a very brave decision. Smartly electing not to go for it. Marco still comfortably sitting out in front with pretty much no concerns. There's an 18-second gap as it currently stands. So just watching that replay once again, swooping around the outside, couldn't quite get the move secured there, but did a very good job at putting pressure on. As Chotney keeps himself still very, very close. Pahor can't quite get into this battle quite as much as I imagine he would like to. He's about a second off for the pace at the moment. Sorry, not pace, distance. In comparison to these two drivers, 3/10 between them are less than 2/10 at that closest point there, and I think he might be able to try and go up the inside. Chotney doesn't quite get it through. Gonna have to just continue to look for an opportunity to get the move done, and he's gonna have to go to the outside here of all places. Very dangerous place to try and get a move done, but I might be able to get it through the second corner. No, tucks in nicely. In fact, I think it gets a little bumped by the teammate Pahor, showing that he is certainly getting himself in and on this fight. And it's going to be a really late move there from Power, and he might be able to get the double overtake. No, it's going to be 3 wide outside of the chicane, and it's now a drag race down to the next corner. Who can get himself out in front first? And Power currently leading these two out already. A brilliant move there from Power as he loops around the outside of both of them at the chicane. Now, who's it going to be coming in P3 as we hit the braking zone? Chotney will have the inside line. Is he going to be the one to be able to get the move done? Not quite, not yet. Anyway, these two still side by side. They are constantly at each other's pace. And there we go. Michelandes finally manages to break free of the fight and get himself up into P3. But Pahor, round of applause, overtake of the race. An absolutely stunning move outside. And oh, Chotney trying to go for a little move there at 130. That's risky to say the very least, but yeah, as I say, Pahor, move of the race, undoubtedly. Look at this. So goes in side by side. They go side by side, and that was the lap just prior, I believe. Yes, it was, because we now move on to lap 29. But that was the chicane of 27, and then 28 was rather different, to say the least. And I think Chotney looking once again to go aggressive and try and get a move done. Isn't quite going to pull off. He's going to have to look for another opportunity, maybe in a moment's time. And he goes for the send, gliding whilst he does so. I don't think whether that was intentional or not, but either way, it nearly worked. But he does have to slide back down into P4. Very interesting take. I think that might have just been actually a mistake more than anything, as yeah, he completely lost the rear end as he slid. Luckily, not into the back of the car, and instead just went to the inside where he knew Hernandez wasn't. So a logical move from him, actually, quite smart if you really do think about it. And Chocno, still huge amounts of pressure. I feel like this fight just never seems to end, and the fuel, I think, is just about going to survive. And Chocno is going to go for the move. Can he get it done? Once again at the chicane. This is where, sorry, the hairpin, this is where we're seeing all the close battles, because it leads to moments like this where we have the run down into the next section of corners, then pretty much drag racing one another, and it is going to be Chocno that manages to just slip himself in front before they hit the brakes, and it's very, very close between the two of them, and it's going to stay close, I imagine, over the next lap, which will be the final lap of all 30 or 29 racing laps and one formation lap. We have a single lap remaining. Chocno will be working hard to try and keep that position. Pahor, with that 1.7-second advantage, is now in a position where he'll be fairly comfortable to secure P2, and I think Marco, we can pretty much say, will be securing P1 unless he has a major catastrophe, or two fairly major catastrophes would be, I think, enough to kill it. But I think that's pretty much about it. I mean, it's been such a good race from Marco, just completely dominant. Can't really say anything else about his performance other than just sheer dominance, because that has been all there's been on offer. And here we go, a quick replay here. As a huge back end gets loose. Well, that is absolutely spectacularly held. I mean, how on earth he's managed to hold that as the car's just come through completely sideways. But he's managed it, nevertheless. I think that might just be the word of the stream, sideways. Because I think that describes quite nicely the vast majority of the cars today. They have been sideways for a very large chunk of the race. So Chocno doing a good job at the moment, but I think he's going to have pretty much secured this position. He's not going to be able to catch Pahor, but I don't think he's going to be particularly angry about that. It was a really good move from Pahor, that double overtake. He's gone from being the driver that couldn't quite get in on the battle to being the one that's going to pull away from it in the end. So Chocno is gaining. He's also really loose. That rear end is on ice skates, basically. And he is gaining time, but I think he's just not gained it at quite the rate he needs to. Let's cut to our front man today. He has just totally dominated this race. Not quite qualifying, but the race as a whole. And on these wet weather tyres, he has just proven that his ability to handle the car is still utterly immaculate. Marco wins in Japan. And these two drivers are now even closer than ever. I said that there wouldn't be a move take place. I think they're just about, might be. He's going to send it into the final chicane. He will have the inside line. They do make a little bit of contact. Let's see how they do as they go to the line. Powell with the slight advantage at the moment. They're going to go around the outside. He is Koshnay going to be able to get it. He's going to go to the line. And oh my God, Koshnay wins. Whoa, that was so close in the end. Quarter of a second, and the final corner, Chocno manages to overtake Pahor to secure P2. Pahor can only take P3 in the end. So a move that I said is pretty much written off, as Pahor's managed to secure himself a really solid position. All of a sudden, completely flipped on its head. And there we go. Wow. Really, really quick turnaround in the end there, as most drivers, I think, have indeed crossed the line. Wow, what an ending that race has been. Really, really close and competitive. just wait for one more car to cross the line. And I've got to say, really, really good racing overall. I mean, the level has been very, very high indeed, and some fantastic overtakes. I'm still going to give it to Pahor, my overtake of the race, because that move was just phenomenal. Right at the very end of the race, to just, we thought, to secure P2, but it ended up being P3, but it was better than where he was. He started in P4, a double overtake at the chicane to get P2, and only to lose out to it right at the very last corner, literally the final corner. I've got to say, that is an impressive feat, and he should still be very, very happy with the podium that he's gotten. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to Marco for winning here in Japan. So, with that, let's take a little rundown. Marco wins in Japan after an hour and 9 minutes of racing. Chotney in P2 and Pahor in P3. Mihlandez in P4 and Kaludis P5. Saudarani P6 and Virtuosis P7. Pence in P8 and finally Massa in P9. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed. I certainly have. It really ramped up in the end there for, I think, probably the best final few laps of racing we've had all season. If anything, that makes me super excited for next week's race in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as we get ready to do it all over again. Thank you all for watching. I've been the Caracteristics. This has been ZIRA Evolution, Season 2, Round 5. Thank you, and good night.